Present and accounted for.
Yep, we're on the clock.
I'm here.
Ooh.
From Keller Street Co-work, it's Business as Unusual with your host, Danielle Stroble.
302. 302. We're only 2 minutes behind. Usually we're like 32 minutes behind.
That's how we do. Usually I'm 5 to 10.
Behind?
Yeah.
You were here on time. You were here early, actually. You didn't have to be here
After
till
we
3.
started.
For the record.
For the record.
Is it okay
Julian.
for me if I hold it against people for being late, but I'm consistently 5 to 10 late?
No, it's not okay.
Oh.
It's not okay. You need to first learn that.
Well, no, actually it is. As long as you're showing up with the equipment and you're running things, it's okay for you to be late, but it's not okay for other people.
Oh,
If you're
okay.
talking about business, like show business or business in general.
Show business. Welcome, Julian Beal. Hi. Welcome to Keller Street.
Thank you, Danielle.
Phil,
It's great to be
Julian
here.
is another one of my almost original members here.
Would you call him a
And
core member?
I would, for sure.
We call them the OKs.
The OKs.
Original Kellers.
It's
Oh,
true.
nice.
Yeah. I didn't know we called him that, but I think that's pretty cool. Julian
I already have a tattoo lower back.
is-
What?
He's got a tramp stamp. It says okay.
Yo, Shane in the house.
Nice.
Shane's waving at him from across the room. Julian is so many things. Julian's, I'm going to start with financial advisor because not that that's not important, but for me, that's kind of lower down on the list. He is, he's super funny, first of all. He's got
That's not true.
It's kind of a dry
he's got
humor.
a story.
Already lying.
He's got a story that when you, I don't want to, actually, I was going to say when you look at him, you're like, oh, that's your story? I would have never guessed because it's a little profile-y, but it's true. He's got a history in showbiz. He's got some, how would you say in a very casual but industry style way that you throw rhymes out there, like, that you rap?
Well,
What
I
is
grew up
the
from,
industry term for that.
Well, yeah, I rhymed. When I grew up, you know, it was kind of after Vanilla Ice, but he was like a joke. It's not like what we were trying to do at all. I was in LA. We were 14, 15, I guess 14. And we had just started, you know, messing around a little bit with, weed and that sort of stuff. And this guy, an older kid on our block, he was in Hollywood and he was actually pretty well known. Still is pretty well known, although he's passed away. And, you know, we kind of saw, I was always artistic and I saw that outlet. I always kind of wrote poetry, wrote short stories. And, you know, when I was real young, I had to like kind of hide that because I grew up in Omaha and all of a sudden that became like, you know, not to say it, but you're in Omaha, right? Nebraska.
Omaha?
Yeah.
Mutual love?
Yeah, it's actually a great town. But at that time, you know, we were young. It was like left there when I was 12. And so it was like, at the time, everyone was like, oh, that's gay.
It's footloose.
Right? That's gay. And it's like, I didn't even know what that meant. Like my dad runs art museums. His friends were David Hockney and artists that were famous. And I was like, yeah, so they're gay, like da-da-da. But it was really weird. So I suppressed all that. And then when I went to, Los Angeles, I kind of at first tried to hide all that, like just my like artistic side. And, slowly I realized like it was okay to bring that kind of stuff out. And then, when I met, this guy, Robert, he went by Robideau at the time. And his name is actually Robert Paulson, you know, Fight Club. So that was the sample. That was a sample to one of our first CDs was that beginning because his name actually was Robert Paulson. And, you know, I heard him rhyme and, just freestyle, you know, and I was just like, okay, there it is. Like that's where it is, you know? So I just went right to it. We all did. But like I really found a love in that, in being able to freestyle, but being able to write and, really get deep on it. And so that was kind of really kind of opened it up. You know, it's like I was a affluent white kid, you know, and they say that, like I hear a lot of people say like Eminem, like just this angry white dude. Now he's got all this money. Why is he still just this angry white dude? Well, the thing is like when he grew up, like I know how he grew up. I ended up in Detroit rapping with guys from 8 Mile and all of them. Mm-hmm. And I know how it was when he grew up. I know how he got picked on. I know what it was. So that's where that anger comes from. You know, he wasn't wealthy. I was, but I got picked on a lot before I kind of moved to Los Angeles and kind of built this shell around me. So anyways, that's just kind of a look into that. And it's a way to express that, you know, that anger. Cause even if you're a kid with money, that doesn't mean you're not like isolated and
Well, if you're a teenager, you're angry anyway, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, would you say that moving to LA and feeling the freedom to, or even discovering, you said the,
Oh my God, that's what I get for having an empty glass.
The rap scene, that wasn't something that you were doing before you moved to LA. Did you feel like that took you deeper into your creativity, or that maybe you discovered like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize this was a thing for me?
Well, I listened to rap even in Omaha, right? Like back in the day, Sir Mix-a-Lot, you know, it was one of like the first CDs I bought. But I don't think it was until then that I was like, oh, freestyling, you know, and like, oh, okay, like the way I write poetry, that breaks down the same way. So it was really more just all of a sudden I was like, oh, like that's how I can express myself. And I really liked music. I always had. So I think that I'm sure there was later on, but I mean, Omaha at that time, like 311 was at my high school. You know, those guys were there. Like my sister was in band with,
man, I feel really old.
Nick Hexum.
The fact that you relate to all of this. Yeah.
Nick Hexum's younger brother. Like my sister was good friends with him. They played in band together. And, but that wasn't rhyming, right? That wasn't like.
Well, you must have had somebody for the backing tracks too, right? Or was that you too?
Producers?
Well, like coming up with the music for to back up your lyrics, back up your rhymes and
beats.
Your right.
Yeah, so
Beats and rhymes.
My buddy Professor S, he's actually in New York. He's doing big things right now. I just saw this huge thing he put on last weekend with part of like the New York Philharmonic. Like he produced this whole thing together. So that's how he moved forward with that. So our first CD was, I think it was called Politrix, and it was actually my detecting device. We have some technical
difficulties on the video.
All of a sudden I'm on like a YouTube channel.
That's the best part of the podcast.
Let's break the video games out.
The video.
Let's do this.
No, sorry.
Anyways, that's that story. But so yeah, we had beats, we had all that. We had drum machines, we had Tritons when those came out. We had always had the top of the line stuff. And I was in, we were in real studios. At first the studio was in our house and our crew was OTC, which was out the crib because I actually lived with Eric. My parents had moved to Detroit, so I lived with Eric, Professor S, my senior year, and we put out our first two albums then. It was mostly Robideau, cause he was like known. He battle rapped and he was at the Whiskey on Sunset all the time and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that was that. And then that kind of, just got really good at freestyling and rapping and being able to talk about stuff like rapping with people. It's like when you were a good rapper and you could rap about it on just like off rip, they can't really say shit. You know what I mean? Because you're like a better, if you can rap like that and you can freestyle like that quickly.
It's so intimidating to me.
I
was just telling Phil before we went on the air that I listened to a quick little rhyme that you did last weekend at one of our other members' events. And the guy had a kind of like a photo booth, but it was an audio booth and people would go in and the idea was that they would tell a little bit of their story and how it relates to Petaluma. And it was actually a really cool idea. And so Julian went in, he did a little rap and I was listening to it. And, I quite honestly, rap music is not something that I'm very familiar with. I don't know much about the story. Like you're throwing all these names out there that probably I should know.
No.
But it's not my thing. Having said that, it's very intimidating to me. And what happens, other than sometimes I don't necessarily love the content or what they're rapping or whatever, but it's more that I get nervous when I listen to rap because I think, oh my God, it's so intimidating that these people can do this. And for whatever reason, I put myself in that place and I think if somebody asked me to do that, freestyle like that, and just throw stuff out there that has deep meaning, because regardless of, you know, the language, like there's a lot of deep stories that go into these rap songs, and do it off the cuff and make it rhyme and, or have a, you know, a particular beat. Oh my God. It seems like literally one of the hardest things in the world to be able to do. And when I was listening to you, even that little, it was just a couple of minutes, right? I was getting like all anxious because I was like, God, I can't even imagine having to do that. And you didn't have to do it. Obviously you did it.
And I haven't done it for years. That was just like, I was joking with Shane, like, should I go in there and freestyle?
You
like,
totally did.
You weren't even on your game. Yeah.
It was good.
You weren't even on top of your game. Yeah.
No, I used to do it like hours a day. Honestly.
But so what I want to bring back around, because I was introducing him and I thought, you know, he's like, financial advisor is kind of one of the roles that he plays here, right?
Now I feel weird talking about everything now.
No.
Financial advisor.
No,
So
because I think it gives you another dimension.
I dropped out of hip hop because of serious allegations and issues.
But that's the backstory, though. Everybody's got a life, right?
Everybody has a story, and your story is very unique and great. But I also want to say that he's a really good friend to a group of people here, and he does have this sarcastic kind of shell, right? But as you get to know Julian, you love him more because he actually becomes more human and more friendly. And I would characterize you as somebody who would likely do anything for anybody that you care for.
And that'll burn you too.
And then
which I learned, you know.
But he's a friend. He's part of the group that goes and plays basketball and ping pong, and there's a core group of guys who do that. But for me, and what's really I think most exciting now, probably because I am a mother, Julian has just become a father.
Oh, that's the best.
I do have a little bit of a woman crush on his wife. She is.
So do I.
Amazing. She's the most beautiful human. She's Colombian, which of course right there is like why, you know, is only one of many reasons why I love her. But they just had a little baby. But to hear the story of
welcome to the party.
Julian in his past life.
Glad I got the invite.
It's humbling.
I forgot to RSVP. Is that okay? I showed up anyways.
His past life and his current life, and it's so, I just love it because they're so different. They're so different. Julian, the stories I hear about him now, or I witness of him now because now I'm a part of his life, versus the stories I've heard about him from previous to when he met his wife, or previous to when I met him even, is two different people, I think.
Absolutely.
But I love it because it's a really good example of evolution, not necessarily improvement or anything like that. There's no judgment there. It's just like people evolve, right? And yours happens to be such a drastic difference where you are now and where you were.
It's sort of interesting if you look at it from the way that I found this this form of expressing myself that led me to a place where, although that part I could do and I could say what I wanted, I put myself in a situation, where that's the only thing that could be out there. Everything else, I I was in East Detroit driving around, like you have to know people, and you really got to watch your back. And I like that, the bit of the scariness and
we belong to something too, right? I mean, it's part of, you've got, you're
like
part of a group, and
even though there's Eminem, like you got to have clout to drive around East Detroit. Like they had introduced me to everyone they took me days. I didn't even get it. I thought they were taking me around. Like, yeah, I'm amazing at freestyling. Everyone should meet me. No, like A1 Mac was rolling me
so
around.
You don't get hurt.
Round table. Yeah. They were introducing me to like all the dudes on all the blocks, Five Nations, Latin Kings, and, the Counts, GD, like all those guys on all the blocks. And it's, but then you get in there and I actually had to kind of like shut down as well. And then, so I almost was like hiding myself again. And then you kind of, this is real weird to bring up, but I actually got sober because I really wanted to be like Eminem. No. But you know, and then it's like, oh, then you